A big day today in the Capital Region, and we are watching it very, very intently. It's the first day of the Major League Baseball draft, and that means in all likelihood we will hear the name Garrett Whitley called. Garrett Whitley, the Niskey Unit standout senior, projected to be a first-round pick. Breaking it down with us this morning at 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com is Nathan Rohde, National Supervisor for the Prep Baseball Report. Nathan, how are you?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
Good. We are very excited here in the Capital Region. If Garrett Whitley is selected in the first round, which all indications are that he certainly will be, he will become the second player from the Capital Region in as many years selected in the first round, last year being Jeff Hoffman, the East Carolina standout. It is a foregone conclusion Garrett Whitley's going in the first round first and foremost, right?
I think that it certainly is the sentiment among the industry. Now, obviously, crazier things have happened, and nothing is really ever a guarantee when it comes to the draft. But all indications are that Garrett Whitley has set himself up to be a first-rounder thanks to his skill set and performance over the last several months, including back into last summer.
Exactly. The back end of last summer is when I saw people writing about Garrett Whitley, including yourself, focusing on the area code games and these big showcase tournaments in which he performed very, very well. And is that when was the moment that Garrett Whitley burst on the scene?
Well, for me, it was at the area code games. It's a week-long event. You got some of the best players in the country coming in. They're all facing each other, so it's great competition. In the last 2 days, he went off. And I remember it specifically the second to last day. I'm pretty sure he was 0 for 4, but it was one of the loudest 0 for 4s I've ever seen. He hit the ball hard, showed good bat speed, good swing. And just really squared everything up, even though it found defenders. And then the last day, he did the same thing, but he found some holes. And I think he had a triple and maybe a double that day. Showing those tools again. And that's when I was kind of looking around. I was like, who is this guy? He's got some interesting tools.
We've talked to a lot of baseball writers over the last 3 weeks, the last month, trying to gain perspective on Garrett Whitley, where he may go in the draft, what kind of players he reminds people of. John Manuel of Baseball America said if it all comes together, he's got a Mike Trout-level skill set of speed and power. Jonathan Mayo at MLB.com told us that he's got bat speed comparable to Justin Upton. Who does he remind you of? Are those fair comparisons? Just what kind of player do you think Garrett Whitley can be?
If it all comes together for him, he certainly can, reach that level of those players that you mentioned. Obviously those players are all-stars in the big leagues, and one you mentioned is the best player in the game of baseball right now. It's hard to, say that he will do that or could do that just because of that's putting such high expectations on a young kid. But he has those tools. He can run. He's got power because of that bat speed and strength that he has. So his ceiling certainly is being, a very good player, all-star level in the big leagues. But, between now and then, there's a lot of things that do need to happen. And, he's a northern bat, which is one of the hardest things to scout in baseball is a northern bat because the level of competition that he faces, the limited exposure because, of the weather in the spring, and it's hard to see him. Especially this spring we saw. But, just based on his raw tools, he certainly has that kind of ceiling.
Will any organizations shy away from Garrett Whitley based on his location, based on the fact that he's a northern kid who doesn't get out and play every day of the year? Will they hold the fact against him that he is a prep player? Will certain organizations not take prep players? Will Garrett Whitley be impacted by any of that?
I don't think there's any organizations that have that specific a bias against the player. We do hear certain things about, Team A might not like high school right-handers because of their riskiness or, if they have a certain advisor, they're not going to go a certain route. I think that the whole industry knows the risk level of high school outfielders, knows the risk level and the difficulty in scouting a northern bat. But I don't think there's anyone that's going to specifically hold that against him and steer away from him just because of that. It's just in the back of their mind as being another piece of the puzzle when they're doing their evaluation.
Now, the Major League Baseball draft is certainly very, very different from football or the NBA. You look at football, a guy gets drafted in the first round pick, you instantly pencil him in as your starter at that position, most likely for the next season. Same thing in the NBA. Baseball, we're trying to project out, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road. Is there an organization that you think Garrett Whitley fits well with?
That's a good question. He certainly is, a good player, with his skill set, and there are some teams that, he probably would fit best with. Which one off the top of my head, I'm not sure. It's a little different than, say, the Giants going after, a raw high school arm because they're especially good at developing arms and things like that. The Phillies are usually known for going for those high ceiling, athletic, toolsy guys. They pick at 10. Whether or not that's too high, for Garrett Whitley, I don't know. I'm not in the Phillies draft room, but that would be one team that comes to mind. But the big thing is, where I see him fitting kind of the middle of that first round, maybe a little bit later. I don't see any teams that would necessarily be, teams that wouldn't go for him, because of his skill set.
Have you seen Northern players getting more and more respect here in more recent years? You look at guys that have had success in the major leagues. Mike Trout is a Northern bat. Matt Harvey is a Northern arm, even though he went to North Carolina for college. He's from Connecticut. There are Northern guys that are getting on the radar earlier and earlier. Are you seeing that shift kind of in baseball thinking? Because it used to be that the Northern guys, you're right, they didn't get the respect. I
think that might be. You might be seeing that simply because of the amount of attention that is being given to the draft. I think maybe among scouts it's been growing over a lot longer period than we might be thinking, just because, they've been always focused on it, and the draft is just now coming into kind of that mainstream media of coverage. Certainly somebody like, Mike Trout and Jeff Hoffman, as you mentioned, and even Scott Blewett last year up in New York, Tyler Beatty a few years ago from Massachusetts and going to Vanderbilt. All those guys certainly bring more attention to the region because of the level of that in which they play at. But I think we might be seeing that quote unquote respect factor more just because of the level of attention that the draft is getting itself among the fan base, whereas it may have been there already, or at least already growing among the scouting industry.
All in all, when all is said and done tonight, where is Garrett Whitley going? We've seen him. I've seen him anywhere from 1 initially, kind of a month ago at Baseball Prospectus. I saw him at 13. I've seen him at 12. I've seen him at 16, 22. I've seen him at a lot of different places. What's the range of picks that you think he's going tonight?
I would put the ceiling on him being the middle of the first round. I think that's a good fit for him anywhere from there to kind of the back end of the first round. I think that's a good way to project it out. Again, tonight, it comes down to, that phone call of the team saying, hey, we want to take you here, and this is the X amount of money that we're talking about, yes or no. And then, that'll play a huge factor into it, as it does for anybody every year. If I could pinpoint it, I tell you what, I'd be living in Las Vegas and doing something else.
Nathan Rohde, the Prep Baseball Report National Supervisor. Thanks for being with us today at 1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. We will certainly be watching the draft tonight very, very intently to see where Niskayuna standout Garrett Whitley goes. Nathan, thanks for being with us.
No problem. Thank you.